like to call to order the Utility Service Board for the City of Lawrence on this, the 8th day of August 2023. We have all of our members present, so we do have a quorum. And our first order of business would be the minutes of our regular meeting of July 25, 2023. Those minutes were sent out to the members for their review by email. I would entertain a motion that we approve those minutes.
So moved.
Second.
And moved and seconded. Any additions or corrections to the minutes? If not, we will vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. The minutes are approved. Payment of claims. The claims were sent out to all of the members by email for their review. I would entertain a motion that we approve the payment of the claims.
So moved.
I'll second.
And moved and seconded. Any discussion? If not, we will vote. All those in favor of payment of the claims, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. And opposed, nay. That is approved. Report of our utility superintendent.
Good evening. This evening, we'll keep it light. Tonight, Karen Saavedra with American Structure Points here to discuss the findings we found with the Maplewood Mobile Home Park and the I&I problems we're having out there. We're also seeking approval for amendment number 2 on task order number 5 with American Structure Point for an additional $17,000 to do some post-flow metering in the project area we just did around Franklin Road in that area. We recommend approval of that. We also have 3 account adjustments that we recommend approval on. And other than that, all the projects are moving forward as planned.
Hey, any questions or comments? Paul? Well, thank you, Paul. We appreciate your report. We do not have any unfinished business. We do have the report on the Maplewood Mobile Home Park sanitary sewer investigation. I would entertain a motion that we accept that report.
She's going to give the presentation.
Okay.
So we're going to call Ms. Saavedra up.
All right.
Good evening. Again, Karen Saavedra with American Structure Point. We worked on a task order after Paul and Scott had driven through the Maplewood Mobile Home Park about a month ago after some heavy rain and saw lots of standing water, open manholes, and saw lots of water surcharged up in the manholes, so we're going to show some of those pictures there. We did go through and televise, so if you can go to the next slide. Here's the background why we started this investigation. So again, there was some rain event, and they went out there. We noticed in the work that we're doing for the SSO kind of negotiation with EPA, we had recalibrated the sewer model for the city, and this area had been flagged as having a lot of inflow and infiltration. So we already knew from our flow metering there was something going on here, so they drove out after that storm, and this is what they saw. So, you know, we shouldn't see sewage rising up in the manholes like that. It should stay in the pipe, you know, and flow away. So there's obviously some issues going on here. And then they, go to the next slide. When they looked, it shows all the sewers and those green and red lines under the trailers, and they all go to a lift station on the northeast corner of the site that pumps across Pendleton Pike into another manhole. And so when they opened the manhole where that force main discharges, it was just heavy, constant flow, and it looked very clear versus kind of brown wastewater, like very clear, like we're draining the roads and rainwater obviously getting in. So that is why we went out and did this investigation. We worked with a company called Fluid Waste Services that does work here in the city. They went through and we wanted to inspect all the manholes, televise with that robotic camera looking inside the sewers, and smoke test. So that's where we blow smoke into a segment of sewer and we see where it escapes. So if there's a crack or something in the pipe, the smoke will come out and then we'll see it kind of in the ground coming up in the location of those defects. So that was our plan. In reality, we were only able to televise the red highlight here, so about 50% of the sewers, and we were not able to do the smoke testing. And the reason for that, you can kind of see in this aerial, some of the sewer lines actually go directly under the mobile homes. So they kind of look like they're right under them. So some of the manholes were actually completely inaccessible. They're under a trailer. Or the sewer segment ends in a clean out under a trailer instead of a manhole structure. And so we weren't able to get equipment in to access all the segments. And then in the segments we could televise, sometimes they were stopped halfway through because of a lot of roots or trash or things like that in the sewer that the camera couldn't get any further. They tried to cut some of those roots out and clean the sewers, but the way that this system is set up, the trailer, the lateral comes out of the bottom of the trailer and just ties direct, kind of like at 12 o'clock on a clock, into the top of the sewer. And that distance is very short, so these sewers are very shallow. And so when we go to clean, we kind of jet water to knock stuff off the walls, and it was going up that short segment, and then like people's toilets were like bubbling and things like that. And so we stopped. We weren't trying to be a nuisance to them. We're just trying to do the investigation. So with that being said, we got about 50% of the investigation done we wanted. So I'm now going to just walk through what we did see with that. So with the next slide. Here's that evidence of things we saw that stopped the camera from going any further. So the kind of images on the far left, those are grease that over time just it hardens, and the water can't move it through anymore, and so it just keeps building up. The ones in the middle are roots, so that's, roots, trees drink water, bushes drink water, so they get through a joint or a crack or something, and then they find the water source in the sewer, and then they continue to grow and expand, and so that is completely blocking the sewer. And then on the right there, we've got a lateral that's sort of come all the way down into the sewer instead of being kind of held in position where it's supposed to be kind of flush with the sewer, and so it's now blocking. So the problem with all of these blockages is then when we add extra flow from rain plus the sewer doesn't have enough capacity because it's being stopped, and then that's where it can be backing up, and we saw it kind of rising in those manholes and things like that. And the problem is then we can overtop and then be leaking sewage. So lots of issues going on here. So the next step was, what do we do about this? So next slide. These were some of the more minor defects. Again, we did see some cracks. You can see offset joints, things like that. So next slide. Continuing just again to give you a picture of what we found, of what we could see. So our assumption is that there's more of the same in the parts we couldn't see. These were kind of looking up into some of those laterals. Like I said, there's some roots in some of those laterals, or some grease or things like that. Kind of just some loose connections and all of that. So, slide. So you've heard us talk about projects, here in the city to rehabilitate sewers. I know I've spoken with this board about that before, using that CIPP cured in place pipe where we can invert a pipe inside the pipe and structurally and, seal everything up from inside without having to dig up. That's the ideal solution here. Other options are pipe bursting, where you kind of pull a larger diameter pipe through and kind of break away the old pipe kind of in the same alignment. We could look at a new system, so a low pressure system. That's where those grinder pumps, I know there's areas of Lawrence that have that, into a common small force main, or a new gravity sewer would be an option here. Or another option would be that pump station where it all goes. Can we take that to somewhere else? This is right on kind of the border of Lawrence and some other sewer service territories, Citizens or Aqua Indiana being kind of up there. Is there somewhere else we could take this? Because what's happening is this area pumps downstream to a place where you are having an SSO, which is 71st Street and Oakland and that lift station. And so these are the solutions we looked at for a variety of reasons. Some of them are really not feasible. And in the report that I provided, we walk through why that is. With the lining, we need to be able to access the sewer from both ends, and as I mentioned, that was not possible for a lot of the segments. And then the other options, we felt like, again, with the way that the trailers are set up, were going to be difficult. So next slide. The solution that we really feel like is feasible would be to put in a new gravity sewer and to put it in the road so it's accessible, it's not under any of the mobile home parks. We'd have to do some, obviously that's excavation work. It's going to be disruptive. It'd have to be scheduled, and then we'd have to kind of reconnect those homes. So there would be some kind of coordination there to kind of find that lateral and then bring it to the new sewer. But that would obviously seal up everything. We wouldn't have all these issues with the roots and the everything else. So next slide. Next steps is we need to share this information with the mobile home park. And I know Scott has been very transparent with them about letting them know that we were doing this investigation and why we were doing it. So I know he would like, the board to consider the information, and then I think give him, and Paul maybe can speak to this, the ability to basically present to them our report and findings. And I know with that, there's a big ticket dollar amount for putting in a new gravity sewer system. Like I said, digging a trench, putting a new pipe, reconnecting everyone. It's not typically the cheapest solution, but we feel like in this scenario, that's really the only choice that makes sense. And then the other one is gathering more information on really how much they're sending us during a storm event. And so Paul and Greg are working on installing a flow meter on their lift station so that when we have these storm events like tonight and things like that, we can really understand, here's dry weather flow and now it's raining. What is that, what we call peaking factor? Does it jump by 2? Does it jump by 4? How much flow are they really sending us, so that we know if we were to take them off the Lawrence system, then we can see, will that actually solve the problem with the SSO downstream? Or understand too, then, yeah, it might kind of open the door for some other solutions, just understanding really how much water are we talking about. So those are the next steps with the investigation. You've got the cost estimate in the report there, along with the maps. So I'm here to just answer any questions that you might have. I think next slide, yeah, that was it. So, thank you for your time.
So reconnecting with new laterals is all part of the project then?
Yes,
Every individual trailer would have to be reconnected?
yes.
What would you say is the longevity of the project to get this done?
If we were to put in a new sewer system?
Yes.
Yeah, when we look at new gravity PVC pipe, we really look at it as like a 50-year solution. The pipe, I think they've said can last up to 100 years. It really hasn't been tested, but laboratory tests. But that's what we would look at, and we would have it inspected, make sure it's installed correctly, bedded, the pipes put in per, specification and everything. But that would be the longevity of that project. That's what we would look at, 50 years.
How old is Maplewood?
Not in there yet. They have to decide what they're going to do.
I'd have to get back to you on that. I know, I looked around on their website. Scott would probably know.
I know it was there when
It's
I was a
not
kid.
new, for sure, but,
Gotta
because
be
we,
at least
go ahead.
50 years old, maybe.
Did you say 50?
I would guess around,
That could be right. The sewers in here are, we call them clay tile or vitrified clay pipe, which is the sewer pipe that's used in Old Lawrence, which is where we do a lot of those rehabilitation projects, because that's the pipe that's kind of breaking down. So the fact that they have that same pipe material could be kind of in that same time period, the kind of 1970s timeframe.
it's a big mess is what it is.
Yeah, and we recognize, I'll speak to my, I'm sure they're not expecting the kind of dollars we're talking about for a fix. So it's definitely going to be a conversation on if there's kind of some ways to look at this. But Some of the other alternatives I spoke about, to really get them connected or to access those structures, we'd have to have people almost like move out,
That's what I was going to ask.
and
about.
like put them in a hotel or, for certain periods of time. And to me, that's more disruptive than, doing a street at a time, putting in a sewer and getting, reconnected. It may extend the timeline of construction, but to me, it'd be less disruptive in terms of someone's life, in terms of like having to get them out of there. Because otherwise, yeah, we've got to like take the skirt off and get under there and find the manhole and then still get equipment, in there and things like that. So it would be very challenging. And it is pretty full in there. I think there's only a handful of open spots.
How many people would you say that's their home?
I think there's 200.
100.
200 spots, and it's mostly full.
With the scenario that you gave, 200 people, street by street, so what would happen? We're working on, Street A, for example. What would happen with that family during that process? Is it a day's work? Would they be out of service for a week, or?
I think it would just be during the daytime, yeah. And because of the way they're oriented, a lot of them can kind of access from, this street or this street, the way they're angled and things like that. So we'd obviously make sure people could get access to their, door and get in. But because they're connected to the old sewer, while we're building the new sewer, everyone's still connected, that's, they
So
can
it'd be
keep
happening
going about their day-to-day, right? It would just be that final tie-in. Once we've tested the new sewer, we're good. We would make that tie-in, and that would just be probably during the business hours.
Business hours, okay.
So this is all private property, is that right?
It is. It's a private sewer system.
Those sewers were originally installed in by the property owner, not by the city of
That's
Lawrence.
correct. Yeah. So this really
And
just
we would
isn't-
not have easements and so forth?
No. To do the work, no. So I think that, yeah, I know Scott had been talking to the city attorney and just kind of what are some options here, because by their kind of lack of maintenance of their system, it's causing a huge problem that's brought the EPA's attention to the city of Lawrence. So that's where this partnership's gonna have to work together.
So, yeah, it's a tough issue for us because faced with the cost, the property owner might say it's better just to clear this out and sell this property as opposed to having housing here.
That's,
Happened
So
before.
that we have 200 families that are being displaced.
Displaced, yeah.
They had a trailer park over off Moore Street, do the same thing.
they closed.
About the 2000 block of West Morris, south side of the street.
Yeah, so I think, you'll hear more about this is really the conclusion. This was kind of the next step, was to do a little more digging, but now there's going to obviously be additional conversations, so, yeah.
Well, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I think the city of Indianapolis has closed out a number of older mobile home parks. So,
Right. Yeah, and the other thing with the flow meter is obviously by you knowing how much they, similar to like a water meter, you could look at, if you started to bill them based on actual what they're, sending you from a wastewater, that again could become a large number, like I said, with what they're sending during a rain event. So yeah, that gives some more data, so.
okay. Well, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Anything further? Anybody? All right. Well, if not, we will move on. New business. Item number 2, I would entertain a motion for approval of amendment number 2 to task order number 5 to increase the cost of the 2021 EPA assistance project by $17,000.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any discussion regarding that item? If not, we will vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. That is approved. Account adjustments, we have 3 this evening. I would entertain a motion for approval of a sanitary sewer adjustment at 12432 Geis Cove Drive for $442.72 due to a slab leak.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Not all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. That is approved. Item number 2, I would entertain a motion for approval of a sanitary sewer adjustment at 6040 Middle Drive for $1,444.55 due to a busted pipe.
I'd hate to see the water bill on that one. So moved.
Right. Why didn't they see it sooner?
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Not all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. That is approved. Item number 3, I would entertain a motion for approval of a sanitary sewer adjustment at 10524 Quartz Lane for $285.68 due to watering yard.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Not all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. That is approved. We do not have any remonstration of ratepayer dispute regarding disconnect notice. And we do have someone who signed up for citizens' comments.
You're welcome to come up to the podium.
Yeah, please come up to the microphone and give us your name and address, please.
Daniel E. Rapp, 5718 Wallingwood Drive.
Okay.
This has turned into an FYI only. Last week, there was a meeting between the City of Lawrence engineer and the property owner at 5718 Wallingwood dealing with the right-of-way in relationship to the water main project that was ongoing, done, I don't know. But, as I said, this is now an FYI. Here is a copy of my summary notes of that particular meeting that took place last Tuesday. Here is your copy.
Thank you.
And with that, I thank you for your time.
Well, thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Have a good evening.
Thank you. Okay. See anything further, so I would entertain a motion, we adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
And moved and seconded. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. We are adjourned.